Disclaimer, I am not trying to give anybody any dietary advice in this video. This is not about me telling you what to eat or what not to eat. My main focus is on refined added sugars that are artificially man-made and are not occurring in nature. That is all. What you're about to see is something that I did not in a million years think I would be sharing or doing, not least because for the topic that this is, I don't really consider it to be one of the main themes of Torus Link. However, in Torus Link, there is Miguel, who comes from an upbringing of poverty and his mother and his sister becoming diabetic. Then there's Hazel, based on me, who equally shows very much a hyperfixation on foods she passes. I probably should go ahead and just do this video. So I have neuropathy. In layman's terms, nerve damage, as I have acquired it from too much sugar consumption. Whenever I eat anything that has sugar added to it or is a hyper refined carbohydrate, I immediately feel a buzzing in my brain. If I don't do things to manage myself, I have complete numbness in my fingers, particularly my most extremities. It starts on the outside and then it just goes closer and closer to the inside until you get heart damage and heart disease. To give you an idea of how I got to this space, I used to be obese. In fact, I used to weigh about 212 pounds at my heaviest. I don't know how many kilos that is, but I'll insert it there. And I was this heavy by the point that I had reached high school as a teenager, and this was my weight. In fact, I remember it was in my high school English class that I had this really sharp pain in my big toe, and that was the first time I ever experienced that, and I was like, what is happening? That was when the neuropathy started. I did some research and I realized I am eating a lot of sugar. Sugar can lead to diabetes. So in my early college years, I made the effort to do what I could to stop eating sugar and ultra refined carbs. By the time I went to Scotland, where the events of Torus Link take place, I had shed a good 70 pounds, but my propensity towards eating the sweets, I never really got rid of. About 2 weeks ago now, I had a really bad experience thanks to having consumed what I thought was safe enough, but it was sugary. It brought me to a point of such desperation that I realized I have to do something that actually works to change things. I decided to look at what it would take to just not eat sugar and not eat anything that has sugar added to it. I looked up some advice from just on Google, and of all things, I found this very, in my mind, random website that I didn't know what it was about. Just this Command Glory fellow. And one of the things that he mentioned was everyone agrees to a certain extent that sugar is unhealthy, yet we still keep eating it by disregarding its consequences. Why do we do that? Because it's easy to do and it feels better. We feel better. I relate to this. I often find myself wanting to eat something sweet or carbohydrate laden when I'm feeling stressed. Yet there's a paradox here. Think about people who are content with their life. Do you think they are looking for ways to increase their mood? Nope, because you only want to feel better if you are down. And that really spoke some truth to me, because it told me that it's not an antidote to your problems. Out of curiosity, I continued to look at Command Glory's site, and then I found that they say women are your enemies and they hate you outrageously. Women are dangerous, they easily manipulate men and make them their slaves. If you're a strong male figure, women will mostly become your enemy rather than your ally. Women only love themselves, as all people are selfish. So as women. No woman can love you for who you really are. So then that got me thinking, okay, what does it say when I can find truth and helpfulness from a person who can also consider someone like me to be an enemy? How do those two things sit in the same room? I decided to document what happens when I try to truly go off of sugar and show what that context is in a world where advice can come from someone I agree with that also says something I vastly disagree with. How do we get here? If I do this, I don't know whether my goal is to try to give something hopeful, to tell my story and say, here's how it can turn around, because if I look around me, I can find accounts of people who say, here's how to quit sugar. Quitting sugar is the best thing you can do for yourself, practically, for your health. Here's how it's done. Here are some groups you can ask to help you. Fine. Problem is, virtually every one of those sites or people or locations say it's a challenge, and not even just because of sugar itself being quite addictive, but because the environment you live around is inundated with sugar being a norm. I just went into the grocery store. I couldn't find any hot coffee, sadly. Sad sauce. No, that's okay. I still got a chance to just look around and walk around and see what kinds of foods there were available that were hot that I might have been able to buy and just for breakfast or something. I lamented the fact that I went into a building filled with 90% of its products being food, yet I have to walk around 90% of that 90%. I didn't get anything. It's a good thing that I'm not hungry at this time, and that I've come far enough in my own personal routine and diet and journey to know when I'm hungry and when I'm not, and to not feed myself if I'm not. To go on my way to get some medical documents for my mom, who has a doctor's appointment right now. My mom is currently undergoing stomach issues, so I have to cook a meal that my mom can actually eat. I have to cook for my brother, who wants to eat things like sometimes Super Happy Burger Place. And then my dad, who was very picky, will only eat one kind of meal, and none of them are willing to give up sugar with me. And I know I've tried, I've asked them. That's kind of a really just an indicator of how hard and how tough it is to even just incorporate no sugar in your day when nobody else around you in your immediate space includes that.
I didn't think she was into game playing. I thought she was more into being straightforward. That's kind of what I got from her. And then when I felt like she was playing games, I was like, I'm not into that.
I think maybe it's enough of us trying to speculate and talk about her. Why don't we just have Hat talk directly to you? Hat, you there?
Yes, hi Manny.
Hi, Hat.
I owe you an apology. I'm sorry, it seemed like I was playing games or, leading you on. I shouldn't have waited so long to get back to you.
I appreciate you understanding that.
So wait, do you guys still like each other right now?
I mean, I never stopped liking her. She strikes me as someone that I could definitely have a long relationship with. I'm not a one-and-done type of guy.
This is sounding like you guys are a really good match. It was just a little bit of a miscommunication.
Well, yes, I think he's super genuine, but I want to make sure I am honest and not playing any games. So I really want to make sure you know that I am in 2 other open relationships.
Well, hold on.
What? You can't hog all the boyfriends. Dude, you're just like gathering men?
Well, it's like an open relationship. They know about each other and they know, potentially become 3.
What? Manny, how you feeling about this?
So does that mean Manny could also date other people?
Correct.
Are you on board, Manny?
I really like you. I think you're a great person. I don't want to judge you at all, but I just don't know if I'm into two other dudes. That just sounds...
What?
You don't have to be into the dudes. You just have to be in the hat.
Like, even if I want to, not eat anything that includes sugar myself, it's like, okay, my brother wants something from Happy Burger Place. I have to go and get him that. And then the next morning, I get called by one of my dear friends who tells me that they have recently done a business thing that has to do with Happy Burger Place. And they're trying very hard to get, money for themselves, as so many of us are. Am I supposed to say to my friend, well, I'm not eating anything from Happy Burger Place, and I'm kind of feeling very, compromised in supporting you, hopefully profiting off this place that has a lot of sugar to their foods, but at the same time, I want you to succeed and do well. And I'm like, what do I say? Do I say, no, don't do that, do something else? It's like, it's the norm. Hey, so today I feel like shit, and I'm not sure I'm allowed to tell you that I feel like shit, because specifically I feel like shit because I'm on my period. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear me. I'm sitting at a stoplight as I talk and say this. One thing that I do notice so far is, oh God, okay, forgive me. This might literally be just the one single thought because my brain is so out of it. Okay.
Why does adding cream of tartar to a caramel keep it from seizing? He has charts and graphs which are shockingly fascinating. How taste bud works, food mouthfeel categories. And he is just a beautiful writer and photographer. And he really talks about foods. He grew up in India and lives in LA now. And he kind of spins Indian dishes on their sides. And I tried his roasted cauliflower in turmeric kefir and parathas and Indian flatbread. But the hazelnut flan, Robin, wow, the silkiest flan ever tried. But this book really got my attention. Again, the focus is on vegetable recipes. I decided to try his hummus because how can hummus be exciting? You can buy it in every convenience store across the country. But in flavor, he takes chickpeas, home cooked or canned, whirls them up with fresh ginger, garlic, tahini, and a ton of lemon zest and juice. But the magic comes when you saute thinly sliced red chilies, garlic, ginger, cilantro, and cinnamon sticks in olive oil and pour it over the creamy hummus while it's hot and sizzling. Wow. This is Here and Now.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and your NPR station. And Noom, a personalized weight loss program designed to give people knowledge to set new goals and the tools to stick to them for good. Learn more at Noom and OOM.com.
Explain here right off the top that you don't have self-esteem issues, you don't have a negative body image, but other people make it clear to you all the time that your body is somehow a problem for them. Can you talk about some of the kinds of encounters you've come to expect from strangers as you're just going about your daily life?
It ranges from, going to the grocery store and having a stranger take something out of my cart because they don't think I should be eating it, to, going to the doctor's office and, having some doctors just refuse to examine or treat me. I will say I have gym equipment in my home now. I don't go out to gyms because when I go out to gyms, either I am sort of leered at and filmed sometimes, or I get the sort of well-intentioned version of that, which is strangers sort of walking by and going, "Good for you, you'll get there."
So, Last night, I was having some really, really strong thoughts about foods that I missed. I thought I would look up just whatever recipes I could find. And then I came to Polish stuffed cabbage rolls, and for some odd reason, it just felt like the thing to make today. And I just started to read it, and next thing you know, it's talking about the very thing I was thinking about: food memories. When I go anywhere and I have the memories of these foods that mean so much to me from my past, things like my mom making me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when I was a kid to take to lunch with copious amounts of apricot jam or plum jam, or even just enough of it. Things like really craving these biscuits that would be part of everyday life, or things like eating pie and ice cream, or even things that weren't like desserts. Things like eating hot dogs with ketchup and mustard and bread. Things like getting a ready-made pizza, or getting a lasagna, or getting some pot pies. Or when I gave up dairy, there's still plenty of foods out there that hold these memory codes for me. What I'm finding is it's exceptionally difficult to not want to relive these memories and have these foods. Because I'm not just giving up things that have sugar added to them because, yeah, okay, they have an addictive substance that's not necessary, that's hurting me. It's, I can never revisit those memories again. I have yet to find any resources around that tell you how to cope with that, endure that, get past that. Yesterday was a day in which I tried to focus on how to distract myself from my, I guess, temptations. When I was going into the grocery store, I knew I would be tempted to get myself some kind of snack to just uplift my mood, when really all I was there was to just get a bottle of soap for my brother. My choice at that stage was to listen to some music and sing along in the parking lot before I went inside, which I did. And I went inside the store anyway. I kept thinking, maybe I should buy myself some potato chips. What can I buy that maybe I can bake the next day? Instead, I willed myself to just grab my brother's soap and go to the magazine aisle. And what interestingly caught my eye was one magazine that I had no idea was geared for women until it started talking about like menopause and stress hormones for women in particular. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I found another book that is specifically geared towards men's health, that seemed the same shape and whatnot, because they both were talking about similar things, mentioning diabetes. So I figured, oh, this must really be interesting. I could just look right here and now about what there might be in marketed gender differences. But what interested me most was what I saw about distraction also in these magazines. In the magazine for women, I leafed through a page and it was talking about how women are often taught to downplay their emotions. And then I flipped to the men's magazine for health. What caught my eye was a brief little article focusing on a man who has just transitioned, and he thought that in his body he would be much more muscular and sharpened because of what testosterone would supposedly do, but instead he felt very unconfident and miserable, and he thought maybe I should just go to the gym and distract myself from my pain that way. Fast forward to today, in response to what one of my dear friends had shared with me, of all things, 2 videos that are talking about people in Haiti and people in the Ivory Coast, in both cases having to do with food. In Haiti, there's a thing called clay cookies. Well, they're literally cookies made of dirt and clay, just straight up clay. There might be sugar added to it, or vegetable shortening, or a little bit of flavoring added, but they're so poor that the people there can only afford to just just to have some kind of something to fill their stomachs, just eating clay. And in the Ivory Coast, there's people who are farming the So I don't know if I'm going to include this, but this is just as much catharsis for me. My brother had ordered 3 cheesecakes from Happy Dessert Place to get for himself and my parents, even as they know I'm non-dairy and they know very intrinsically that I am not eating anything with added sugar. My immediate thought was, why would my brother get, if anything, cheesecake for my mom, who has diabetes and who is currently suffering from a stomach blockage? But my brother told me that's what she asked him to get for her, and I didn't say anything. Just the same, I used to love, for example, cheesecake from Happy Dessert Place, until I finally realized that 1, I can't do dairy, and 2, it's killing me. So when my brother got these cheesecakes, when they arrived and when I was tasked to deliver them to everybody, because my parents are old, they can't climb up and down the stairs very nimbly. My brother has cerebral palsy, it's not easy for him to go and get the cheesecake. When I got the cheesecakes and I made the coffee for everyone, I felt lonely. Even though I had already made dinner, I wasn't hungry, but I felt so lonely and left out that I ate a second helping, and that was when I felt I had neuropathy pain from just too many carbs, because I'd had a double helping of brown rice, where the first helping didn't bother me. When I went to bring my brother his specific cheesecake, he got his with chocolate, and that made me think of the video with the cocoa bean harvesters in the Ivory Coast, who work for €6 a day to feed a family as big as 15 people who've never tried chocolate themselves, don't even know cocoa beans go into chocolate. And what does it say when a system like this is contributing to disparity on one end and disease on another? I was looking up things on how to get 6-pack abs in 6 weeks, as I was thinking a correlation with high blood sugar, especially from food, and sugar often has to do with weight gain and particularly problem areas in the stomach. Well, for me, I actually do work out. So even though I actually have 6-pack abs, believe it or not, it's very much covered under a layer of fat. In terms of eating things, I pushed myself to make something entirely from scratch that was also easy and simple and healthy, and it looked like absolute mush. It was weird. It was like a cup of oats, just a cup that I blended up and added some coconut oil to and some almond milk and a little bit of baking soda, and I pan fried it all in like olive oil, and weirdly it was almost like a pancake but no sugar. And then I like sauteed it and made it into some mush stuff and then threw an egg in it while it was in the pan already. When I do feel the kind of loneliness I feel, or I find myself feeling, yeah, I can't join in with everyone else, but things are already out of place. So it's not changing the system, but at least it gives me something to empathize with people that I can begin to try. I had made some French onion soup yesterday. Like, it's a soup that's made to be paired with, quite frankly, bread. Long story short, I just can't have it. I have to eat. You know, things may suck, but I still have to eat. And I still have to make sure I'm not dying as I eat if I want to keep going. Of all things, what came to my mind was corn. But I was thinking, how do I make use of that French onion soup? So I scrambled up some eggs real quick. I heated up some tortillas. I added a little bit of cilantro that we have, and I topped it with French onion soup and Dijon mustard. And that was the most delicious thing I've had in quite some time. Maybe there is something of a tool that comes with just combining new things together to make a better co-creative reality. I know that's highly philosophical and deep to be getting with French onion dip tacos, but they exist now. Yesterday, I had tried to give a kind of conclusion to everything, but I realized that it's not really possible to conclude this because it's ongoing. But at the same time, I'm seeing that if you start to acknowledge it and see where it is happening, and not just sexism, because this clearly is not just sexism, it's a lot of one side blocking out another side. But if you start to see where that happens and really take a look and acknowledge it, even if it has to come from seeing your own pain first, then, and only then, can you maybe start to shift even one small thing about it. I guess that's my message of the day. This is not the end. However, this is the end of the video, and so rather than give you any kind of an epilogue, I'm going to try and close this with, well, where are they now? Where are they now? Kind of an ending. Because you might as well know where I am now. I don't know much about single denial. I'm never sure what it's all about. You say you want me, and I don't believe you. I say I want you, well, I have my doubts. I was bound for Mexico. I was bound to let you go. Da 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 da.